This will not be taken lightly by Rangers fans, as we have multiple updates from training camp and preseason that will have the fan base up in arms and absolutely livid as it pertains to some of the decisions that are about to be made with this roster heading into the regular season. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 77% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your New York Rangers as we head towards the regular season starting in just a week's time, go down below, hit that free subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on with your New York Rangers, because this is the place to be for all your daily New York Rangers content. But let's jump right into it. We have some updates to go over from practice and training camp. Some of the games are getting more spread out now at this point, and obviously preseason is getting shortened, and it's actually going to be even more shorter going forward next year and into the future because the regular season is being expanded. But let's jump right into it. We have lines from today, and I think this is very telling, and some fans are already up in arms about a lot of this. We're going to get to some of the fan reaction. We're through a couple games here in the preseason, and it's obvious that some players, most notably younger players who are on the fringe, who are fringe NHLers, maybe let's say at this point coming into camp, have really been showing out and have been probably, honestly, the best players for the New York Rangers. Now, Panarin's been hurt. A couple other things we have to take into consideration. Panarin, they're not even sure if he's going to play in the next game, but it is trending towards that. We'll get to that update in a second from Mike Sullivan. But Noah Laba has looked fantastic. Gabe Perreault has looked really good, and they're leading the way in scoring so far in the preseason. Will it be that way in the regular season? I'm not so sure, but they've been really good. And Laba specifically, because of positional need, if he does not make this team out of camp, I will be genuinely disappointed, and I think a lot of people will be as well, because he's been playing really well, making some smart plays, he's playing physical, and to be honest, Juuso Parssinen does not look that way. So if you look at these lines, this would suggest that what they're rocking right now going into the regular season does not include Brett Berard, does not include Noah Laba, doesn't include Johnny Brzezinski, which we kind of had an idea that that was going to be the case. Doesn't even include here, as you can tell, Gabe Perreault, which I think is also a little bit shocking because he's looked fantastic as well. Let me know in the comments how you feel about that. Cooley's back up on that top line, which I think is interesting with Lafreniere on the right. So they're not done yet. There is still time. They're still tinkering with things. But some of the decisions and what it looks like we're leading towards is not leaving me in a good place. I do think that there are some other things that they should be doing. Now, there's no cuts to speak of right now. They haven't made any cuts, but it looks like there are some things in the works, and that cuts could be coming soon. You can see here from Vince Mercogliano that obviously this was the lines from this afternoon's practice session scheduled for the players who aren't on the ice now. But this sure feels like a group that's pulling into the primary positions for roster spots. And I think that's a little concerning for Rangers fans, I have to be honest, because I thought this was a movement towards making the team younger, and now we're adding guys into the lineup like Taylor Radish, who, listen, I think he's going to play a great role for this team, but Juuso Parssinen, Connor Sheary, it just doesn't make too much sense to me. And Connor Sheary, I get it because of the Pittsburgh connection, and he was under Mike Sullivan. But, I do think some of these younger guys can play that role for this team as well. And you can see here from Vince Mercogliano, there may only be room on the roster for 1 or 2 young forwards. And listen, I'm not saying fill the bottom of the lineup with young guys. That doesn't make sense. I understand that you need an identity with that fourth line specifically. They need to be big. They need to be hard to play against. And the third line needs to have a purpose as well. You can't just fill it in with young guys because they look pretty good in preseason. I totally understand that. But Brett Berard has looked really good, and I think Brett Berard can play that role that Connor Sheary is going to anyway. He's younger and maybe even better. Noah Laba's looked really good, like super dynamic in the preseason. I have no idea why Juuso Parssinen at this point in time would play over him. I guess I do. It's because of waivers, because of the contract, all of these things, and how close up against the cap they are. The other guy we haven't even mentioned yet in this video is Brennan Othmann. Brennan Othmann, I have such high hopes for him. He scored a goal the other night. I think at this point they should look at maybe seeing what's out there, just gauging interest in other teams for Brennan Othmann, potentially looking at a trade, because I just don't know if he fits this team with where they're going at this point, and his development has taken a little bit longer. Stop me if you've heard this before, with the New York Rangers, of course. So that's another guy that we haven't even discussed yet in this video, but you can see They're forcing difficult decisions. There's a lot of good things that I'm noticing, and that is a direct quote from Mike Sullivan himself. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here down the stretch. This is also another update. I want to get to this in a second, but what happens with some of the younger guys, because let me know what you think in the comments. I think Brett Berard should be on this team, and I think Noah Laba should be on this team at this point in time because of positional need. Maybe even Gabe Perreault, but because of positional need and what they bring to a team and the fact that they're young and they should be getting NHL experience, Noah Laba, Brett Berard should be on this team to me. We'll see what happens closer to the regular season. There's still a couple games left. They're still going to tinker with things. But like Vince Mercogliano was saying, this looks like a group in practice this morning that is nearing, getting solidified at this point. I think that's a little scary. Didn't even touch on the defense either. Susie Borgen, one of the worst defensive pairings for the Seattle Kraken when they were together. And now they're going to be a pairing here, it seems like. Not ideal. Morrow looks like he's been pushed out as well, which there's a lot left to be desired with his play so far in the preseason. I'm not going to pump his tires anymore. We were all, off season in the summer. He's got to put something really good together. Matthew Robertson is clearly going to be down in the AHL at this point. Vakanainen, no surprise that he'll probably make the NHL and Schneider. But what happened to the whole Schneider on the left side experiment? We're not seeing any of this stuff that we were told in the summer that might be happening. So very interesting. I guess some of it was speculation, so that is fair to a degree. But anyway, very interesting stuff. And you see from NYR Louis here, nothing official yet, but the writing is on the wall that tells us none of the kids, or maybe just one, will be in the opening night roster. I think that's problematic for this team. I honestly do. Some of these guys should be getting NHL experience, and they are coming. You are challenging them to bring their best to the table, and they are outplaying other guys on this team in the preseason, and the reward is going to be being sent down to the AHL Hartford Wolfpack. And I know I've been, harping on development all summer long, right? And we've been talking about this team can't develop players, and maybe you should take your time with certain players. Brett Berard has played at the NHL level pretty consistently when healthy and has played well when he's been in the NHL. Why are we going to send him down to the AHL? Why is he going to be a healthy scratch again? Now you're starting to stunt certain players' development. Noah Laba, you need a third-line center. You come into camp, you're challenging everyone to take that spot. Somebody steal that job. And he is. And his reward looks like he's going to be sent down to the AHL. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I do not like that, at least what this is pointing towards. We don't know for sure. There's still a lot of time. And there's going to be decisions that are made coming up soon. I don't like that one. You can see here what some of these lines tell us. And again, it's early. I'm going to keep saying it. Anything can change. Parsonen, 90%. This is from Bald Panarin. Laba 10% in terms of making the team. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. I think Laba would inject way more energy into the lineup and is more dynamic. He's a more dynamic player than Parsonen. And I think Parsonen, coming into this season in the summer, I was saying that he will be a fine third-line center if you go into the season, you have no other option. But Laba's come into this training camp. He's come into preseason. And in my eyes, he's stolen this job. And he deserves to be the third-line center of this team. So we'll see. And if you were to fall off a little bit and it looks like he's out of place, which he doesn't so far in the preseason, but if he did in the regular season, you could send him back down to Hartford. But I get it. There's, waivers. All of these things are right up against the cap. I get it in that way, right? Othman and Perreault to Hartford. Perreault, I'm not so mad about. Othman, we're creeping up on 24, 25 years old now. Something might have to be done about that. They're signing Sheary, it looks like. They want Sheary in the lineup. Mike Sullivan probably wants Connor Sheary around. Not a big fan of that move personally. I thought he was just bringing him in as a guy that could come into training camp on a PTO that knows Mike Sullivan, can help some of the other guys get acclimated to the system, and then not sign with the team. That's kind of what I thought was going to happen, but it's not looking that way right now. Berard and Brzezinski will be the 13th or 14th forwards. They might be in the AHL. These are all things that are a little puzzling if you watch the games because these guys are playing really well. So this is very odd. And Scott Morrow, if he goes down to the AHL, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but I was expecting him to make the team at this point. So it's a little concerning in that way. You can see the lineup here. This is kind of what I was thinking was going to happen, but now I would replace Noah Laba there. I would also, Gabe Perreault, if he goes down to the AHL, I'm totally fine with it still. I think that's fine. Again, he's going to be, he should be a top 6 player in the NHL at some point, but I'm not too mad about that. Should be something along these lines, I think. But the whole, Parsonen's definitely going to take the job over Laba, even though Laba's playing way better than him. Parsonen, in a couple clips that I saw a couple nights ago, looked completely lost on his own exit. So not sure what that's about. Brett Berard, I thought, has looked pretty good. Like, they all look good together playing with each other, the young guys. But I guess, you know, Mike Sullivan wants some veteran experience in his team. I don't know if that's going to pay off. So we will see what happens. But it's going to be very interesting down the stretch here, heading into the regular season with the final few preseason games. Who gets in? Who's playing with who? Because some of these lineup decisions, at least in practice today, lead me to believe that a lot of decisions that we thought were going to be easy ones through a couple preseason games so far, Rangers fans are not going to get what they want for the most part. It's going to be very interesting. Let me know how you feel in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.